live on today's video talking about and looking at the chat 3 reasons to buy Nvidia today. 3 reasons, in my opinion, you should strongly be considering buying Nvidia today. Now, I want to give you reasons to buy, but I also want to give you some mistakes that you don't want to make, because there's certain mistakes that it's very, very easy for investors to make, and I want to just give you a little caution about them, right? Now, on this quick video, this is going to be hopefully a quick video. I'm trying to keep it kind of short. Hopefully my lighting is okay. Maybe I got to switch it around a little bit right here. Working with this camera, so bear with me, guys. But I want to give you some reasons why you need to consider buying Nvidia. But I also want to give you some mistakes to watch out for, and I want to give you some potential problems that Nvidia might face as well. And I'm going to be trying to look at the chat, check out what you guys are talking about in the chat at the same time. So just bear with me. I'm going to try to negotiate this thing in front of me. But if you're thinking about buying Nvidia, or if you're thinking about the FOMO that you've seen, right? The fear of missing out, all the hoopla, all the stuff that people have been talking about, you need to watch this video, because I'm gonna give you some things that they're gonna make you think maybe a little bit different about Nvidia, whether or not it's the right investment for you right now or not. Now, we know last week with Nvidia there was a sell-off, sort of, and I think that's sort of the reason we saw the price of Nvidia as a stock dip, right? Went down, lost some of its momentum that it's had, right? Which sort of, some people would say it stumbled. Some people would say it corrected itself. Some people would say that the hoopla is sort of settling down a little bit now, right? But I'm saying, and I think some other people are saying, stay the course, right? Guys, let me know where you're coming in from, what city, what state, what county, what country you're in, and I'll give you a shout out here if I can here. Now, not everybody, but as you come in, I might shout out a few of you. Let me kind of go here and see if I can look at the chat real quick a little bit better on here. Let's see here. Give me a second here. I'm sitting up here. Let me turn this volume down. Bear with me, guys. Let's see here. I'm learning. Work with me. I'm learning, okay? So, okay, you guys can see me. All right. I think I cut out for a second, but I think I'm good. Just work with me here. I'm kind of learning how to do this. Looking at the chat here. Okay. Good afternoon to you, Kathy. Good afternoon to you, Miss Successful. Memories in Action is checking in from Atlanta. We got somebody from Tulsa. We got somebody all the way from Washington. We got somebody from San Diego, California. We got somebody in here from Southern Cal. Lagos, Nigeria is in the house. Jackie from Martin, Tennessee. Got single stocks, got Nvidia and single stocks. Now, the other thing I'm doing this video here on a Sunday on purpose, right? We know the week is going to open up tomorrow. And so I said, I need to do this video before tomorrow, because I want to enlighten and help some people before tomorrow gets here, before the trading day opens tomorrow. So I said, let me do this video real quick on a Sunday to try to help out my folks a little bit, my subscribers and the people in the chat. South Africa's here. Chicago's in the house. Dallas, Texas is in the house. New York. Queens, New York. Phoenix is here. New Jersey is here. Hawaii, Pennsylvania. We got them from all over to have this conversation. We're going to talk about why you want to buy. We're going to talk about mistakes to be careful and watch out for. And we're going to talk about some potential issues with Nvidia that people aren't really talking about, because everybody's so hyped up in the hysteria of what's going on. But we want to have this conversation because I want you guys to be informed investors, not just out there scrounging, trying to do some things, trying to make things happen, not really know what's going on. I want to inform you as much as possible, because I know when I was first coming up in this, I didn't have a lot of YouTube and stuff. No, you know, you kind of had to do a lot more research, and it wasn't just at my fingertips where I could get this information, right? But Nvidia there was a sell-off last week, right? And so for investors, you don't look at Nvidia going down as a bad thing, right? As investors, what you want to consider is when you see a really, really solid, good company that you know has good fundamentals, has good, not just performance in the past, but has good, they look good. Their numbers look good. And what they're doing, the industries they're in look good. When you see them dip like that, don't make the mistake of thinking everything's going bad, right? That's a mistake. What you should be doing as an investor is looking at that as potential buying opportunity for you. Because maybe Nvidia was overpriced for a minute, right? And now what happened at the end of last week is it kind of came down and the market said we had enough of this. We had enough of this growth. A little too much. That's cool. So now it came down a little bit. But the fact that the stock price came down a little bit, we're talking price only. This is why you don't buy stocks on price only, right? The fact that the price went down a little bit and maybe there was a slight correction, some sell-off, that still don't change the fundamentals, right? So don't make the mistake of thinking that just because you see this is the first mistake. Throughout this video, I'm gonna give you several mistakes to not fall for. The first one is just because a stock stumbles a little bit, shows some pullback, it doesn't mean that it's the stock is bad. It doesn't mean you need to sell, right? It could mean that the price was a little overvalued. Now it's come back into where it should be. And guess what? It's a buying opportunity. Don't make the mistake of thinking that it looks like it's time to sell when really it's time to buy. Right? So I just want to lead off the chat today with that fact, that mistake. Just because a stock is going up doesn't mean it's going to always go up. That's another mistake to watch out for. And just because a stock is going down don't mean it's always going to go down, right? We saw Nvidia get crazy after crazy after high after high after high, right? We got a little bit of don't be careful about that fool's gold a little bit. You got to be thinking about that. But when it does go down, hey, it could be an opportunity to buy. I always suggest dollar cost averaging anyway. So you take advantage of the highs and the lows and don't have to guess, right? But I want to let me just go ahead and give you these 3 reasons first. I gave you a few mistakes. I'm going to give you some more. Let me give you these 3 reasons why you should be buying Nvidia. Let me see. We got Dan from Hawaii, David from New Jersey. I think I said him earlier. We got Eric from Pennsylvania. Good to have you. Broke Vlogs from Australia. Good to have you all the way from down under. I don't know if that's the right way to say it or not, but that's what we used to say with Australia. We got Greece in the house. We got Tallahassee in the house. We got Richmond, Virginia. Man, we all over the globe, which is great. I love to see it. First thing is this. One reason you ought to consider buying Nvidia is the leadership, right? The fact, not the leadership. Well, the leadership CEO is cool too, but I'm talking about the leadership of the company in the AI space and in the data center space too, right? Nvidia dominates those 2 areas. And I mean, really dominates, right? 60, 70, 80% of the share in those industry areas. That's AI itself and the data centers, the GPUs, graphic processing units. We know that Nvidia dominates in GPUs, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, all of that, right? They dominate. And when you have a company who dominates in an emerging market, now when we say emerging markets, we're talking about emerging technology. That's new technology, right? And we know how much we rely on technology in all over the world, not just America. So when you get a company that dominates in an emerging technology, you need to really look at that company and say, okay, not only are they dominating any industry, right? I don't care if you dominate the hair product industry, right? I brush my beard, right? I don't care if you dominate the hair product industry. If you dominate an industry, you need to go ahead and be looking at firms that dominate industries. And that's important. But when you couple that with dominating an emerging technology, you got a double whammy on your hands. This is why you shouldn't trip on the fact that, okay, their price went down a little bit. It's still a dominating force in an emerging technology, an emerging market. Not just technology, but market. There's a market for AI. And when you can dominate there, that's something to pay very, very close attention to as a investor, right? Now, here's the kicker. Here's the second reason you got to be looking at investing in Nvidia. Not only are they dominating in an emerging technology, but they are leading the way of expanding the market, right? They are innovators in an innovative emerging market. I mean, that's the second reason. First reason is they're dominating, and they're dominating in an emerging market. Second reason is they're expanding this thing. They are creating markets within a market, right? So they're doing, I mean, talk about automotive, healthcare, robotics, right? The AI, gaming, cryptos. There's a lot of issues. I mean, not issues. There's a lot of things, good things to see. Jackie from North Carolina, good to have you here. Manchester, UK is in the house. Let's see here. 15. Somebody said I have 15 shares so far. Congratulations. Cool. Somebody said I'm getting more Monday. Somebody earlier said I'm just chilling in the ETF. That's cool too. Nothing wrong with that. But there's so much opportunity. Again, we're at the beginning of an emerging market, beginning of an emerging industry. When you lead there, new industries, new solutions, right? The other one is this. Third reason you should consider buying Nvidia today as we prepare for the upcoming week, right? You cannot ignore, I don't care what the stock price is. I don't care if it opens tomorrow. Where we at, 126 or something like that? I don't care if it, or 130, I'm not sure. I don't care if it opens tomorrow and goes down to 115, goes down to 110. The third reason you should buy Nvidia today, and don't worry. I'm going to talk about some reasons you may want to consider the risk about Nvidia too. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But the third reason you want to consider, or you should perhaps buy this stock today, is that I don't care what happens to it, the price of it. You cannot deny or ignore the performance. Their financials cannot be denied. Now, I'm not going to pull up 10Qs and their 10K or their recent 10Qs, and there's going to be here's the other thing. When we talk about performance, there's going to be another earnings report come out in August for Nvidia. Leading up to that next performance report, which will probably be another good, solid, outstanding, incredible report. Leading up to that, you will probably see them catch a little bit of momentum. It may not be a big momentum, but they'll catch a little momentum. After the earnings report, depending on what projections were, right? You're going to see another, perhaps, probably short takeoff. Maybe not to the extent that we saw in the last 6 months, right? But their revenue growth, their really, really strong margins, their balance sheet, their low debt, their lower than normal overhead, right? Solid balance sheet, solid profit loss. Their asset to liabilities is super nice, good, beautiful ratio. I mean, debt, super low. Listen, their financials, you cannot argue with them. No matter what happens to the stock price, There could be other sell-offs. We could see it dip down to 110, $90. Who knows? As an investor, you see those as buying opportunities when you couple that with all the performance in terms of their financials, right? And the fact that they generate so much solid cash flow over 300% year over year increase, right? Research development, acquisitions. They even slightly increased the dividends they were giving back to shareholders. I mean, you cannot deny the fundamentals of this company. I know there's FOMO, right? There's fear of missing out. Everybody's hyped up. But you can't deny the fundamentals, right? Which leads me to this. Let me talk about this. We know Nvidia looks attractive right now, right? Double-digit earnings per share growth, cash flow, right? We know all that. But there's some things you got to think about, some issues that I want you to think about as an investor, because I'm trying to make you an informed investor, not just somebody jumping on the bandwagon, right? Let me do this. Before I go there, let's talk about mistake number 3 that you do not want to make. Because this video is about don't make these mistakes or this mistake, right? Never believe that a stock is just going to go up and up and up and up forever without facing problems and issues along the way. Right? Problems and issues along the way. Somebody says 60 shares so far. Sunset on the ocean. Let's see. Check it in from Eagle Rock. Just reading a few of these chats here. Sold all my Nvidia to buy puts. Okay, cool. Not mad at you. I'm all in, but I'm diversifying. Good for you. Fantastic. You should be. Somebody said, if Nvidia had a 90% drop, will you still hold? Looking at its fundamentals, yes, I would hold. I would probably buy more at that point. Looking at the fundamentals. Now, if the fundamentals change, that would make a difference, right? Somebody said, greetings from Tulsa. Good to have you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's see here. Somebody also said somebody said buying puts is too gamblish for me. It's a little gamblish on Nvidia if you're buying puts right now. Let's see. Somebody said, okay, so let me just go here. Let's go into some of the issues and problems that you guys should be thinking about, right? As smart, savvy investors. And I hope my lighting's okay, guys. Let me know. So always consider risk. Always. Always. Every time you deal with money, I don't care if you, buying a car wash, you still got to look at the risk, right? No matter what you do with money, especially investing money, there's always risk involved, whether it's real estate, crypto, gold, silver, ETFs, whatever. There's always things to think about. And that's another mistake, by the way. Another mistake is never make the mistake of forgetting about risk. That's a huge mistake. And when you get something like Nvidia, everybody got this FOMO, everybody's hyped up, people forget about the risk, right? That's a mistake. So what are the risks with Nvidia? The first risk with Nvidia is, and in my opinion, this is a big risk, and it's really a big risk for a couple of years down the road. The big risk is competition, right? AI, GPU competitors, you got your AMD, your Intel, your Google. There's going to be some strong competitors that come out. You cannot have an emerging technology and not have competitors, right? It's automatic. It comes with the territory, right? It's going to be there. And the thing about Nvidia, you got like Cisco doing some stuff with data centers. We talked about Broadcom, and Broadcom has had some leaps and bounds, but they've had their issues. I mentioned AMD. But competition is a clear problem, guys. It's a really, really clear problem that you have to consider, right? Think about the fact that even if Nvidia was to maintain their lead in, say, the GPU space, right? there's still some peers out there who are looking at what they're doing and saying, you know what, we sort of do that, we do a little bit of that, we supply this, we can get into that space too, right? We know that AMD and Intel, like I said, they're rolling out GPUs, right? And oftentimes think about, well, we'll get to that. That's really another one. We'll talk about that one in a second. But think about the competition and do not sleep on the competition. When I say don't sleep on them, you need to be looking at the competition as potential buys as well. We're dealing in an emerging market. And I know at this point, it looks like the stock market over the last several days is a little exhausted with the talk of AI but that doesn't mean it's going anywhere. It just means the market is a little bit fed up at this point. Could turn around this week, who knows? But understanding that there's other players in the game besides the Boston Celtics. I'm a basketball fan, right? So I like those basketball analogies. But there's other players, right? Sure, Boston won the championship, right? In 2023, 2024, Nvidia has won the championship. But don't forget about the 76ers. Don't forget about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Don't forget about the Denver Nuggets. Don't forget about the Dallas Mavericks. Don't forget about the Milwaukee Bucks. Listen, what I'm saying is, yes, Nvidia has been destroying the game. But don't forget about the AMDs, the Intels, the Broadcoms, the Ciscos, those other companies, right? And here's the other thing, okay? Here's the other thing that you cannot forget about as an investor. Nvidia's biggest competition in the next 2 to 3 years, 3 to 4 years, 5 years, is going to be from its customers today, right? Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, Google. These are Nvidia's biggest customers. And so its biggest customers are going to become its biggest competition here shortly, right? So you got to be thinking about that as an investor. So maybe you need, as we get in this AI emerging technology called AI and called robotics and all this automation and so forth that's built on top of existing technology, when we start looking at these things, we need to consider the fact that there's going to be some big players playing in the game who right now are the customers of Nvidia, right? Let's see here. Put some boom, boom, boom. So while it's good, guys, to focus on Nvidia, you need to look at those customers. You need to be concerned. Concern is too strong, but you need to be. Concerns are good. You need to understand the risk, right? That Microsoft, Meta, Amazon, Alphabet, they are all internally developing AI GPUs, right? They're all in there. Okay. How do I say this? Companies that innovate are oftentimes more effective in the long run than companies who invent. I don't know if I said that right. Okay, Microsoft. Microsoft is a company that doesn't do a lot of inventing stuff, technology, but they do a lot of innovating stuff, technology. Oftentimes when you see the second and third company come through, it's the second and third company that does better in the long run in terms of technology or any industry, right? You can look at that. That happens quite a bit. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying the companies that clone, right? They clone, they take an idea that's existing, that somebody else invented, and they take that idea and they move it to a whole new level because of what they were able to do and push it out to a new territory. That's what you see, and that's what you may end up seeing with some of these competitors in 2 to 3 to 5 years with these GPUs, these AI GPUs, these data centers, right? They can come through and do them more efficiently. Not that Nvidia is not going to be on the cutting edge too, because we know Nvidia, they rolling out products for 2027, right? So we know they're on the cutting edge too. But I want you guys to be thinking about competition, right? And can Nvidia maintain its competitive edge in a space where you got Apple and Amazon and Google and Meta and Tesla, right? Whatever, Broadcom, Cisco, Intel. You got some big boys up there, right? Competition is on its way. Let's put it like this. Here's the second thing that you should be thinking about, right? Now, I gave you 3 things on why you should buy Nvidia today, but I like to keep the balance on my videos, right? I like to keep the balance because I don't want you running out there and buying Nvidia because Smart Money Bro says something on the internet, but he didn't tell you the things that look out for too. So I'm going to give you the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, the why you should buy, why you should be cautious, right? I want to give you the whole picture from my perspective. The second thing you got to be thinking about, right? The second thing you got to be thinking about. Let me look in the chat real quick because sometimes, man, guys, hit the like button, hit the thumbs up button for me. Just take a second out of your day and tap that little thumbs up for me real quick. It really helps the channel. It helps the video get out to more and more people. If you know somebody who's looking to invest, please share this information with them. Somebody who maybe saw Nvidia say, hey, Nvidia, or they're new to investing, please share this information with them. Share the link, right? Put it in your Facebook group. Put it in your whatever it could be, right? Wherever you are on social media, just share it with somebody. And also I always mention my channel partners is Mint Mobile, right? Don't have my cell phone, but they offer premium wireless service. Like to mention them too because they've been real good to me. So check out Mint Mobile. There's a link to that in the description box. But the other thing in terms of, and this might be the biggest thing that nobody's talking about, okay? This is the thing that really nobody's talking about Nvidia. And it may be the single most biggest enemy for Nvidia. And I want you to hear me out on this, guys. And let me know in the chat what you think about this because you don't hear about this. But history. Think about history, right? What do they say about history? If you don't know your history, you're destined to repeat it, right? History has shown, guys. Let me see where we are on time. Okay. So history has shown that these, I'm going to call them next big things. These next big things usually undergo a process of where they sort of mature, right? Sort of almost like a bubble bursting event, right? And this is true. You go back to the 90s, right? Every time we see some big old game-changing technology, right? Some game-changing innovation in technology or some big old trend of everybody fear of missing out, FOMO all over the place. It usually in history has typically resulted in sort of a beginning stage of a bubble, right? Think about the internet tech bubble back in 1999, right? Think about, I remember a long time ago, genomes. And what was the thing? China stocks was a thing. Think about the housing. What happened to the housing in 2008, 2009. Think about a few years ago, cannabis, right? That was a big thing, right? Oh my gosh. Think about I'd say about 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 years ago, it was the blockchain. The blockchain is going to change this. The blockchain, and the blockchain is still a real thing, right? Right? Housing is still a thing, right? All these things are still a thing, but they sort of kind of died out a little bit. Right? Sort of, there was a lot of fear and everybody hyped up, and a new innovation, a new trend, and guess what? There was a sort of a letdown, right? So the history of these sort of big trends and what we see happening with AI right now, the history says that maybe we're in sort of a little bit of bubble with this AI thing. Maybe it's not going to take off as much as we think it's going to take off in the next year or two or three. Maybe the expectations are too high. If we look at history of these types of trends, and listen, people aren't talking about this, but I'm bringing it to your attention. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm not saying we're destined to do it. I'm saying you got to be thinking about it as an investor, right? This AI trend, if it's a trend, is it a trend? Now, I think personally, I think that it's a little bit different with AI right now because AI has been around for a long time. We know that AI has been around for decades. But there's technology right now that's in place to support AI. Whereas 20 years ago, the technology was not in place to support AI. So I personally think it's not really a bubble. As history may suggest, I believe that because technology is in place and we think differently about technology and we understand the uses of technology in a way to push industry, push business, push profits, right? Because of that, I don't think it's so much a bubble. I think history may not repeat itself. But as an investor, I know about history. And that's what I'm telling you to do. Just looking back at these chats here. Okay. NW in the house. Good to have you as always. So I just want you to have that in your mind to understand, guys, that there's a history of these sort of technological innovations to sort of fade away or be pushed to the background. Be all out front, but then be pushed to the background. Not just technology, but in general, right? Trends in general. Early stage bubbles, right? And this may be an enemy to Nvidia. Don't get me wrong, Nvidia is in a lot of places, but their innovation in AI, the beauty about Nvidia, and this is why I keep saying Nvidia is more of a buy, is that Nvidia plays in a lot of spaces. They don't just play in AI, right? They don't just play in AI, and that's what makes them solid, more solid, and may be able to withstand a pullback in AI. If we do pull back in AI, doesn't mean Nvidia goes away, because they do much more than just AI in the tech space, right? But we've seen in the last week or so, at the end of last week, we saw sort of exhaustion, right? The market kind of saying, okay, chill out. Now, here's another one. I'm going to throw this one at you too, if you guys are okay with this. Let me know if you're okay with this. I'm going to throw this at you too, right? So another thing to think about, I mean, really this is a third thing to think about when you're thinking about investing in Nvidia today. Again, the video is, I would invest in Nvidia today. But I want to give you a balanced, well-rounded look at this thing and not just FOMO. Not just, oh, go buy. No, you gotta be much more savvy than that. The third thing to think about is some of the regulatory things that Nvidia, nobody knew, a lot of people didn't hear about this, and it's not a big issue at this point, but did you guys know about the antitrust issues and scrutiny that Nvidia is having, right? Or the intellectual property disputes, right? Or the fact that the Supreme Court, was it last week, they ruled on Meta? They ruled on Meta and Nvidia. The Supreme Court agreed to take up a case against Nvidia, right? Let me pull that up, right? Here it is right here. There's a case involving Nvidia, and I'm just kind of reading here, and involving the standards for pleading science and falsity under the PSLRA. The Nvidia case involves alleged fraud in connection with the company's disclosures concerning its sale of its GPUs to crypto companies as a component of its overall GPU sales. So do your research. The Supreme Court agreed to take up a case against Nvidia just recently in the last few days, right? I'm not telling you to scare you off from Nvidia. I'm not telling you to sell Nvidia. I'm telling you to know the full picture and don't get caught up in the FOMO, right? Guys, you got to hit that like button for me. Hit the like button. Hit the thumbs up button. Please do me a favor and smash that like button for me as you come into the video. Let me go back to the chat here, guys. Let's see here. And I haven't been in the chat at all, and I apologize. Sometimes I'm in the chat, sometimes I'm not. Broadcom is amazing, I see in the chat. You're right. Research your Intels. Research your Ciscos. Research your AMDs. Research your Broadcoms. Do your research. But we know that AI is in its early stages. But NVIDIA's ability to stay profitable, continue to have strong earnings, and also navigate through some of these challenges and also stay ahead of the competition, that's going to be the key, right? August 21st is the new earnings report. But listen, we saw a pullback last week in Nvidia. Let me tell you guys something. A pullback can sometimes be healthy. Not only can a pullback be healthy, but a pullback could also offer buying opportunities for you as an investor. If you see Nvidia dip to $115 tomorrow after it opens, that's a buying opportunity for a solid investor, in my opinion. Why? Because it don't change the fundamentals of the company. It doesn't change the fundamentals of or it doesn't change the demand for AI, right? I mean, do you really believe that Amazon is going to all of a sudden say, we don't think we need AI? Or Google or Meta is going to, we don't think we're going to back up from AI. No, they're not going to do that. So if you see it dip in price, that's a buying opportunity for a savvy investor who's done their research and who's considered all the risk, right? I mean, think about this. At the end of last year, I'm just going to throw this at you. At the end of last year, Nvidia had a market cap of what? 750 billion. Maybe at the beginning of this year, the end of last year began 750 billion. Their market cap is now close to around the range of 3 trillion. There's going to be some pullback when you have that type of rapid growth like that, right? 750 billion to 3 trillion. That's crazy. That's unheard of, right? Growth off the charts, but earnings to support it. And I won't guarantee anything, but when we get closer to August 21st and the new earnings report, you're going to see a little bit of uptick because there's going to be probably another solid earnings report, right? Again, don't sleep on the other companies. There's opportunities. Maybe you look for the next Nvidia, right? But don't make the mistake of throwing it away because you saw it dip a little bit. It's going to dip. It ain't going to maintain its pace. It can't. Will it continue to grow? I think so. That's why I think it's a buy. And that's why I titled this video, 3 Reasons to Buy Nvidia Today. But I would be a poor example of a YouTuber or a poor example of a person who's given information if I didn't tell you the risk, if I didn't tell you how to look at the pros and the cons, right? And so if you're watching this on replay, I need you to dig into this chat because my chat is on fire, right? The chat is on fire with information, right? The chat is on fire with intelligent, smart people who invest. Sure, we got some new folks in the chat, but we always have some solid people in the chat who just know their stuff and have done who understand it, right? Somebody said buy the dip. In this case, I would say, okay, let me back up. My overall strategy is always dollar cost average. Oh, dollar cost average beats buying the dip if you compare those two strategies, right? Buy the dip is great, but you can do both. You can dollar cost average, and I like to call it dollar cost average plus, meaning dollar cost average, $200 a week, $200 a week, $200 a week, because you don't want to miss. Look, what's the stat? The top 10 days in the stock, if you missed the top 10 days in the stock market in the last 10 years, you missed out on, 300-400% gains. So you don't want to just be buying the dips. You want to be dollar cost averaging plus. Dollar cost average plus buy the dips. So put your 200 a month, 200 a week in there, dollar cost average. But when you see a dip, throw 200 more in there. When you see a dip, throw 400 more in there. But continue to dollar cost average. You don't have to choose one. You can do both. Right? Somebody says I have it in a mutual fund for VGT. VGT is Vanguard's technology ETF, right? And VGT is solid, really heavy. I think like Nvidia has maybe 12%, 13% of the weight in VGT. But that's the technology ETF. Technology's been wow, right? If you look at VGT's numbers over the last 3, 5 years, 10 years, crazy, right? 30-40% gains in the last few years for VGT. VGT is solid. But you could also own Nvidia in your ETF or in your index fund as well, right? So I'm a dollar cost average person. The other thing I want to point out to you is, and I mentioned it earlier, but don't forget the smaller companies that are going to be participating heavily in the next phase of AI's growth. Remember, we're at the beginning of AI. This ain't the end, right? This is the beginning of AI. Again, a technology built on top of technology. AI. Built on top of existing technology. Don't forget this either. When it comes to AI, there's always going to be companies, smaller companies, that are going to be involved in the refresh, right? In the refresh of the data centers in a year or two. In the refresh of some of the operating units, right? Or there's going to be companies that are going to be involved heavily in the refresh, right? In what's coming up, they got to redo everything that's out there right now, right? Don't forget about those competitors. Well, I call them competitors, but participants in the AI, what's happening in AI. Again, there's risk, but there's a lot of upside. And this is why, in my opinion, you need to buy Nvidia today because of the fundamentals, the numbers, the earnings report. Don't buy because I said buy. Do your own research. Somebody said, don't forget about Bitcoin and Ethereum. I'm not mad at you. I'm not big in Bitcoin at this point, okay? I'm not mad at you. You guys, in the link in the description box below, there's a link where you can join us on another platform where I dig a little deeper into my own personal venture into being much more heavy into single stocks. I'm starting to go ahead and say, you know what? I'm going to take some discretionary money and I'm going to play more in the individual stock game. I'm a big ETF index fund person, but I'm going to start playing more. And on the other platform that you can join us on, you can come on that journey with me. And I'm going to do exclusive videos that won't be on YouTube on that other platform. Looking at my portfolio, my plan, and what I buy, what I'm not buying, what I'm getting into, what I'm staying away from. I'm not going to be doing a lot of trading options, but I'm going to be doing just some individual stock picking and stock researching. And right now I'm developing a checklist. That's what I'm doing kind of behind the scenes, developing a checklist, and we're going to have some fun over there, right? And we're going to try to grow a portfolio quickly, but with value-driven stocks, right? Some growth, but a lot of value-driven stocks that are more on the buy and hold. So I want you guys to come over there and join me. And the first link in the description below is going to have a link where you can join me. You can get on my schedule. We can talk one-on-one, etc. You want to be a paid member over there. I disabled the join button on YouTube and I said, let's do it over there, right? So you can join me over there. You can also join me for one-on-ones, personal, me talking to you, having a conversation with you to help you with your own personal financial situation, or if you have questions, those links are down there and below in the description box. So Don't forget to hit the like button for me. Smash it. Listen, I'm not going to hold you. I'm not going to be on. I told you it wouldn't be a long video. Let's cut it off. I appreciate you guys being here. In my opinion, it's a buy with caution, right? Dollar cost average into that thing. If you want, if you do your research, or just hold it in your ETFs, hold it in your index funds, you'll be fine there too, right? But don't get all FOMO, fear of missing out, hyped up. Look at research the pros, research the cons. I hope this information was helpful for you guys. I really hope it was helpful for you. If you got anything out of the video, hit that like button, share the link, and share the good information, guys. Listen, I appreciate you being here. As I always say, the best person who's going to take care of the old you is the young you. Take good care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.